Hello everyone, Bertie Films here, and it is that time of year again. It is almost the anniversary date of the death of Michael Collins. In my belief, the assassination of Michael Collins. There are some people out there that think it was a gun battle and that's how he died, a simple gun battle, but I don't believe that. I think he was assassinated. And today I just want to make a kind of off-the-cuff video about my love for Michael Collins as a historical Irish hero. Of course, I'm already waiting for the divisive comments, and this is always the case whenever you talk about Michael Collins. I think great people will always have divided opinions. I don't think it matters what you do. As a great person, you're always going to have a divisive following. Michael Collins, I'll be honest with you, I was surprised at the level of vitriol that I would be subjected to just because I've shared about historical accounts of Michael Collins. I am not going to go into huge details about the historical kind of timeline around it. If you want, I'm going to leave a video at the very end, which you can watch, and that's kind of about the Michael Collins versus Eamon de Valera thing. I will mention it in this video, but not going in depth into it. But if you stay to the end, I'm going to leave the video right up here somewhere, either this side or this side. You can maybe put it in the description as well, but it'll definitely be at the end of the video. Why do I love Michael Collins? It's probably for the same reasons other people love Michael Collins. He was a very charismatic hero. He died young. He did a lot for Ireland, and he did a whole lot more than a lot of those people that hate him. You know, I find that these people online that are, you know, spewing hate and trying to threaten people and stuff like that, like, what are they actually doing about things that they care about? Like, what are they actually doing to actually help anything? You know, it's quite baffling to me. This is the thing about Collins. At least he did something. At least he stood for something. You know what I mean? Having hatred for something that happened 100 years ago, for someone that happened, you know, existed 100 years ago, kind of shows where you're at. Like, even I dislike tremendously Eamon de Valera. I don't hate Eamon de Valera. I actually watched a couple of documentaries on Eamon de Valera. And I did actually find his position on the ports of Cove and things like that to be very admirable. Also, his stance on neutrality and his willingness to go to protect neutrality, very admirable. But I do not like what he did around the time of Michael Collins and the time of the treaty and stuff. I'll go into this more in the video that I mentioned already. Please watch that video if you want to know more about that. The thing I will say to anyone that hates Michael Collins, if you can say, I hate Michael Collins and Eamon de Valera, then I will take your comments more seriously. But you always get that kind of thing where, you know, they hate Michael Collins and they kind of sidestep Eamon de Valera as if, like, you can sidestep him. You can't. It's impossible to sidestep Eamon de Valera if you hate Michael Collins. The thing is, blaming, and I talk about that in the other video as well, but blaming Michael Collins for the Anglo-Irish Treaty for something that a lot of people were involved in. Like, it's kind of like saying, how do I even describe it? It's like blaming one person from the government that was involved in the decision for something recently and just saying, oh, that person's at fault. Michael Collins was involved in the Anglo-Irish Treaty, but he wasn't the sole blame. There were signatories. There was also a vote on it. There was also a vote from Northern Ireland on it. There was also the plantations of Ulster. There was also this history, the Act of 1920. There was this whole process that we need to look at and blame. Like, blaming Collins for the partition is just ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. It's not, that's not what his intentions were. His intentions was to end the war, you know. And, you know, people say, oh, he gave in to the British threats. Listen, the British Empire were threatening to kill a lot more people. Would you be so brave? Would you be so brave to know that you're going to make a decision to basically be the cause of more death? Eamon de Valera wasn't there. He wasn't making a decision. He didn't go. So They made the decision. They made the decision to try to use this as a stepping stone, but it, eventually, but it didn't happen, and it still hasn't happened. And he died for it. He died for that step. He did a lot more than most people in this world will ever do, including myself. That's the bravery of a person. And he was a person that wasn't perfect, and he wasn't like, he was an angry enough guy at times, like, and maybe a bit of a womanizer as well. I'm not 100% sure about that. He was a young man. He was in his early 30s when he died. He was like 9 years younger than me when he died. Like, I mean, when I was 31, I was going around the place like an idiot. This man was like literally leading the country, and had fought the British Empire. Now, he didn't fight the British Empire by himself, but he was leading a huge part of the War of Independence. This is why I love Michael Collins, and a lot of other people do as well. It's because he had such a significant role in bringing the empire to the table to even talk. Who did that in the world? Who actually was involved in actually fighting the British Empire and winning? Now, people say, oh, they didn't win. What did Tom Barry do in Cork? Tom Barry had a couple of hundred men and got, I think it's around 12,000 British soldiers out of Cork. Unbelievable stuff. So it wasn't just always Michael Collins, of course. That's what I said. You see, talking about Michael Collins as if he brought the British Empire to the table as one person is like saying, oh, he's at fault for the partition. There was many people involved in the War of Independence, but Collins took a very directorial role in the intelligence war, and he was able to foresee and able to envision this way of potentially defeating the British was by matching them on intelligence, or even actually outsmarting them on intelligence. One of his major operations in taking down the Cairo gang was just unbelievable. Like, and again as well, when he took down the Cairo gang, or leaded that maneuver against them, and that mission against them, and took them down, he saw what happened afterwards and how the British reacted. That's what happened during the War of Independence, is that the British reacted in such a strong way, and burning down Cork, killing people on the Croke Park field during the game. The reactions from the British was very violent and unbelievably unmerciful. So, of course, this threat, when they went over for the Anglo-Irish Treaty, was a very serious threat, like, you know what I mean? Who knows what they would have done. Just a quick commercial break to let you know, in case you don't know already, I'm starting a tour company next year in 2026 called Invasion Island Tours. And if you're interested in touring Ireland with me as your host, I will be providing tailored experiences for all my guests. So if you're interested in that, register your email at invasionisland.com, and I will get back to you within 24 hours. I really look forward to hearing from you. Collins was a driving force for an independent Ireland. He was a part of the Republican movement. The perception of this changed with the Irish Free State, and people that are on the opposite side would view him, as someone that was working for the British. But ultimately, all of this was a stepping stone towards what they believed to be a full republic, eventually. You know what I mean? And that's still the dream. He didn't know that this was not going to happen. Like, it's not like he went out to actually have 26 counties. Like, that's not what he wanted. Of course, who wants that? That's in Ireland, except for the people that class themselves as British in Ireland. Of course, as well, like the old saying goes in that the Batman movie. When I say the old saying, it's not that old, but either you live to become the villain or die and become the hero. I'm kind of paraphrasing it there, and that does happen here with Collins as well. They call it, I think, death bias or something like that. It's like people get biased, towards in favor of the person that dies young, because they haven't lived long enough to make huge mistakes, or for people to start hating them, like Dame Eamon de Valera. And the way he died, it was all very romantic in the sense that, the tragic hero, and of course there's the movie as well that would tell this tale and also take some liberties in the storytelling ultimately the historicity of it is quite accurate, but there are some things in it that are retold. I think as well it's quite sad he never had children, but he did have a love interest. So there is some liberties taken with the story, but I think essentially the love triangle did exist. That's what they did say. Kitty Kiernan, who did become engaged to Michael Collins, for what I can see, and it's just quite tragic, that he didn't get a chance to have a married life and he died before this. And also, what could have been, with his life? What could have been with Ireland under his leadership? What could have been, And I think that's the thing that people romanticize and what people lean towards and fantasize about, And that's probably what I fantasize about as well. What could have been? I mean, for me, it's all down to the character and the person and the actions and the sacrifices and the ability to lead, to be strategic, to have guile, to have courage. I just feel like Eamon de Valera didn't really have those things, and I just don't know how he stayed in power for so long. And I feel, my father always said like that Eamon de Valera's Ireland was terrible, and what he led Ireland into. I don't want to make too many comments on all of that because it could be for another video. Also, there is very big serious doubts I have about Eamon de Valera and his real relationship with the British. But that's obviously, it can be classed as a conspiracy theory. It's important that we look at our past. It's important that we don't get so black and white about things, about people, places and things. We have to understand the complexities, the nature of all of it. And just for anybody that doesn't know, Michael Collins was shot on August 22nd, 1922 at Bale-na-Bláth, and it is believed that he was shot by anti-treaty folk. The exact identity of the shooter remains unknown, but the main theory is that it was Dennis Sonny O'Neill, a former British soldier who had joined the anti-treaty IRA. O'Neill was reportedly using dum-dum ammunition, which caused a devastating wound to Collins' skull. The stuff that kind of leads to conspiracy theories is the fact that he was the only one shot, was shot in the head, and it just feels a little bit weird. There are other conspiracy theories, suspects, even like the likes of Emmett Dalton as well, but that's been kind of written off. Apparently, as the Sonny Neil said it to friends, and then he dropped one man or whatever. Yeah, because you see, the other thing is as well, it seemed like a slight cover up, or it was looked like it was a cover up, the way they dealt with the crime scene and stuff like that. But remember, it was in a very early state. It wasn't really a country. It was very new, so the whole thing was a bit of a mess. There was no inquiry, inquest, or autopsy report was carried out, despite the significance of the individual involved. So there's been a lot of debate, a lot of suspicion around this. Apparently there's some evidence to say that Sonny O'Neill never even operated as a sharpshooter in his time in the British Army, or the IRA. And then apparently he may have had a disability in his arm. So who knows? This is not what the video is about. Maybe I'm going to make another video about the suspects for the Michael Collins shooting. If you want me to make a video about that, please do. I know this was a bit off the cuff, a little bit more of a personal thoughts on it, but that's what I wanted to make for this year, for the anniversary. I also have something planned for the day of the anniversary as well, and I'm going to be sharing that as a video, a full video, but on the day I'm going to be sharing from my journey that day. I've never really done anything really formally on the day to an extent that I wanted to, so I'm going to be doing something on the day, which I'm going to share about on my Instagram at Bertie Films, the stories, etc., the reels and stuff. But I'm actually going to then put together a YouTube video about that as well for afterwards. So I hope you enjoyed. Please be respectful in the comments and leave your thoughts, comments below. Make sure you're subscribed, hit the notification bell. Thank you so much for watching. Goramina Maha Gwiv Galerma Cordia. I really appreciate it. If you want to support Bertie Films, make sure you buy some merch. Get 10% off with the link in the description. Also, The Forgotten Prince, The Battle of Clontarf, where this is all leading to this series. You can get The Forgotten Prince. It really supports Bertie Films. It's available on Amazon worldwide. Make sure you're buying it on the Amazon in your region. Also, you can sign up and become a YouTube channel member and get all sorts of perks. I'll leave that in the description as well. It's $1.99 a month and there's a bunch of perks with that. Also, if you want to make a donation, PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, Stripe, those links are in the description. These help tremendously. So I really want to thank you for your support. Staying till the end, liking, commenting, subscribing, hitting the notification bell. If you really want to stay up to date with everything that I'm doing, make sure you get on the mailing list as well and get your free PDFs. Thank you so much. I will talk to you soon. Take care. God bless.